Hello, I'm Mike Moore, and I'm talking with Rockingham County Attorney Seth Woodall. The news story that everyone is talking about, and that's the assassination attempt of Donald Trump. Seth, I want to just ask you first, your perspective on this. How did we get to where we are in our country today and all of this?
Well, Mike, I think we're in a bad place in society in America right now. What we've seen over the last several years has just been horrendous with bipartisan politics and infighting and everyone hating each other. And, it kind of just came to a head this week with the potential assassination attempt on President Trump, and it's sad. But I truly believe, Mike, and some people don't like to hear this, but when I was in law school, I was told to read a book by Dean Jeffrey Brock. It was titled as Common Law, Higher Law. And the principle of that book was that our judicial system was created based upon biblical principles and morality and Christian principles. And we've just gone away from that as a society. And if you take a step further after reading that book and looking at the framers, those men who created this experiment that we now call the United States of America, they knew that for our system of justice, our system of government to work, it had to be based upon biblical principles and religion. And we've gone away from that. And, I quite frankly believe that's why we've seen the moral decay that we have over the last 50 years. So I think we need to get back, and, I think religion plays a very important role. If you don't have a higher being to look to, then there's no accountability, and that's what we've got. There's no accountability. Everybody's out for themselves. And, it's just a sad, sad time in our country.
Yeah, it really is. And I've seen, as well as many others over the weekend, looking at situations similar to this through history, down through the years with other attempts on presidents' lives and actual assassinations. Maybe you could kind of give us a little, your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, so we've had 4 American presidents assassinated. In 1865, Abraham Lincoln, we all know about Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents in history. Mm-hmm. He was assassinated. Then in 1881, James Garfield was assassinated. In 1901, William McKinley was assassinated. And in 1963, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. We've all seen videos of that, and just horrendous to think that somebody could do that to the leader of the free world. But in addition to that, there's been multiple attempts at assassinations of presidents and presidential elected presidents going into office. Mm-hmm. Andrew Jackson, Theodore Roosevelt, Delano Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, and then this week, we saw it right on television, live TV, President Trump shot through the ear. Thank God this young man missed.
Let's talk about the shooter. Any thoughts on that as we move forward here?
I've been reading reports on this guy since the night that this happened. His last name is Crooks. He's from Pennsylvania, and by all accounts, he was just kind of a quiet guy who graduated high school there, and probably was somewhat of a recluse. He was a member of a local gun club. They said that he had been a member maybe less than a year, or approximately a year. Certainly, the gun club issued a statement to their attorney saying that they had nothing to do with this, and it was terrible and sick. Mm. But he didn't seem to have a lot of friends. But in looking at it and reading some of the reports, it appears that there was some level of planning that went into this, and it wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision for him to get up on that roof and try to kill President Trump. But it's too early to tell. The Secret Service and the FBI actually investigates assassination attempts and crimes committed on presidents. But these agencies will work closely with the local agencies there, Sheriff's Department, local police, and they'll come up with a conclusion as to what happened and most likely why it happened. And I promise you all resources will be used to try to determine that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And we'll know more, but it's just too early right now.
Yeah, okay. You have a perspective because when you were on the campaign trail for Lieutenant Governor, you actually met with Donald Trump in Florida. So give us your thoughts from that perspective.
So, yeah, when I was running for lieutenant governor, back in December, I was invited to go down to Mar-a-Lago for an event at Mar-a-Lago, which is home to Trump, an excellent event. I did a news report last 2 weeks ago, and was on with the anchor, and they were asking some questions about Trump. And I'll tell you the same thing I told them. This is the most resilient man to ever walk the earth, in my opinion. We've got a guy who's a billionaire who could go live on an island with his family, and his only concern every day is what they're going to do for fun and what new adventure they can go on. But he chooses to put himself in this position where he's being shot at, he's being hated across the world. So, you know, I believe he's trying to do the right thing for the country, and he's just a resilient man. And just prime example, I mean, he's shot almost in the face, and as soon as he's coming off the ground, he's pumping his fist, saying, fight, fight, fight. And I think that is his demeanor. If you meet President Trump, that is who he is.
Yeah, yeah. I was just reading right before this call to you. Something was said about get my shoes. Have you read that this morning?
I saw something about that. Yeah, I think when he hit the ground, his shoes came off.
Yeah, the Secret Service guys just hit him so hard. So, yeah, but you know, just to see that replay over and over, and just thinking what a millimeter difference would make. But you're right. I've seen so many comments that people say the same thing you're saying. He could be anywhere doing anything, but he's put himself in this position. And it really says something about the man, the character, and his beliefs, doesn't it?
I think it does. I truly believe that he means what he says. Now, he's not a perfect man. Nobody is. And, you know, I get pushback from individuals all over, especially Democrats. You know, I don't want to get into politics on this because it's just simply such a terrible situation. But he truly is trying to do the right thing for this country, and I think he can do the right thing for this country. I think we've had strong economies under him. We've had, you know, we felt safe. We didn't have the border mess that we do down in Mexico right now. And I think that he has the ability to put America first and not special interest and not his own interest.
Do you think with this shooting incident that this will help sway voters in his direction more, perhaps?
Without question. If you look at what's happened over the last 18 months with Donald Trump, and whether or not, you know, the Department of Justice has been used to weaponized to combat him in his campaign with these criminal offenses, irregardless of whether or not that is what has happened. Every time he's been charged with a crime, every time he's been accused of something, every time that he's had a civil judgment lodged against him, everything that has happened to him has gained momentum for his campaign. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, this is probably one of the, I don't want to say one of the best things that could happen for his campaign because it's a sick event, but the momentum that he's going to gain off of this will just be alarming to the Democrats, honestly. I think this will solidify his position in history as the 47th president.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And certainly a lot of people in agreement with that, for sure. Yeah. I'm wondering, the convention starts today. How will this change the tone of that convention and really moving forward with Trump and Biden and the whole campaign?
Well, I think not only is this going to change the tone of the convention, it's going to change the tone of politics right now for years.
Yeah.
You know, we saw that President Biden is disliked as President Biden is by Trump. We know that immediately after the shooting, he had reached out to Trump. He wanted to talk to Trump, make sure that he's okay. And I think that, you know, people on both sides of the aisle are going to say, you know, this is just, we should not be in this place in America. And you and I just talked a minute ago, and there's been, you know, 4 assassinations of presidents, 6 or 7 of attempts. But, you know, we just see more and more, I don't know, just lack of morality in our systems. And I think hopefully this is going to change some people's mind and say, you know what, we need to come together for the common good and try to determine who's going to be best for this country, pick that person and understand that you don't have to like everything that that person does. But if you believe that they're best for our country, by God, let's put them in place and let them have an opportunity to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that to say there's going to be a change in the political system and the whole landscape, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People talk about unity and when there's a mass shooting and all of that coming together and different viewpoints. You wonder sometimes, is that possible, a unity and us working together, as you mentioned earlier in this podcast?
Well, I think it's going to take some type of religious revolution, honestly, and to get people back to the basics. And unfortunately, for that to happen, it could mean national tragedy strikes, and not what's happened this week, but something of far greater significance. But I do think it's possible, but I think it's going to be something that God has to intervene in and to get us back to a place where we can all accept each other's ideas, but understand that there are community standards that we're going to live by and do the right thing for the country, not the right thing for the party, not the right thing for individuals.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we have just a couple of minutes left. Seth, you made some wonderful points here in this. Anything just for some closing comments?
No, Mike, I think it's honestly just a sick event that's happened, and it's sad. I think it's going to give President Trump more momentum than he had. We saw when he was convicted of the 34 felonies up in New York, he raised $34 million in 18 hours.
Yeah.
And everything negative that's happened to this man has given him traction, given him momentum, and it's going to push him over the finish line in November. So I'm excited to watch that. I hate that this has happened. Secret Service fortunately was able to put an end to the shooting up there, but not before other lives were lost. So I think we all need to, we talk about what a miracle it was that he lived, but unfortunately 3 others were shot, 2 critically wounded, and 1 deceased. And we need to pray for those families because they were just absolute victims of circumstance to be shot like they were just because they were sitting behind the former president, who I believe will be our next president. So we need to remember those individuals and their families who lost their lives because it's just a terrible act that was not necessary.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that, too. I'd like to end with one thing, and just you kind of mentioned it briefly a little bit ago, but you are doing a lot of commentary, I guess would be the best way to say it, your take on, as a legal consultant on politics, current events, on several national news outlets, getting some exposure there. Would you like to address that just a moment, how that's working?
Yeah, so, after the primary for the lieutenant governor's seat back in March, I was, we really ran a fine campaign. We didn't win, but we did a great job, made a lot of friends. And we were contacted by some folks up in Washington who work with Trump and basically asked, hey, what's your level of interest? You're obviously very knowledgeable in a lot of things, legally especially, and that's my trade. And so we have been doing some commentating on national news circuits, and, a lot of it has to do with politics and the law, such as Trump's trials, lawsuits, things of that nature, but just general political commentating on national news. And it's been really good. We've been well received, and, I own news networks all over the country, not just local stuff. So it's been good, continue to practice law full time and kind of deeply immersed in politics, and just a passion. And I want to see, most importantly, the world change, but I want to see good things for the country and want to see good things for North Carolina. That's where my heart's at, so that's where I plan to stay. But I have been doing that, and it's been good. It's been good. People can check us out online. A lot of the commentating we've done has gone on Twitter, gone on Facebook, Instagram. So check us out. If you like us, give us a like.
Yeah, I was watching some of those clips over the weekend. Seth, thank you. I appreciate your time and your perspective.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Rockingham County Attorney Seth Woodall, his monthly podcast here on Mike Moore Media.